Everyone, my name is Jessie Bowen, and I am the host of the Become an Author podcast. We've started something a little different. It's to Become an Author Spotlight. So this week, we're bringing the spotlight to a renowned martial artist, and that is Grandmaster Mike Stone. And so again, welcome to another Become an Author podcast that helps authors, leaders, and visionaries share their story and impact to the world. So tonight we're joining us is Grandmaster Mike Stone, a 10th degree black belt, international best-selling author, and a true legend in the martial arts. Beyond his achievements in competition coaching, Mike is an inspiring author who, with countless people that he's helped, his books, his seminars, his mentorship, and not only a martial arts icon, but also a man of vision. And I had a chance to experience that at the Battle of Atlanta this year, having an opportunity to hang out for a day and listen to some of the things that he had to say and his philosophy. And I was really blown away with that. And I left with so much, information. And the thing we don't want to be people that cannot learn. If you think that you know it all, then, that's a problem. Then you really don't, and you're really losing a lot. So hello, sir, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a joy to be here. Thank you.
Well, I know that, really anxious to, share some of your background. And I know when we think about the martial arts and we think about the beginning of sport karate, being a champion, and, and all the movies you've played in, the things you've done, so tell us just a little bit. I got a whole list of questions for you. So tell us a little bit about Mike Stone.
Well, pretty much like everybody else, I was a young man growing up in Hawaii, which I was very blessed to have been created there. Like most things in life, we're always going to have difficult challenges. And I think that started me going in the right direction was a wrong experience. So I lost my mother at 11. And at that time, there was no one really to advise me on how I should be, how I should react, how I should grieve. So I just went off on a little tour, and it was not the positive path. I started to make a lot of negative choices, decisions, and had a lot of negative experiences. But I was blessed to have a guy, an assistant football coach in high school, a guy named Jimmy Gregg, that saw some potential in me that I didn't see. So whatever he saw, he took me under his wing and helped me when I was a junior in high school. And this particular situation was, he taught me a lot about football, but the most important thing that I've learned was he created a mindset for me. And that mindset when I was 15 was to always be my best. That was a very simple mindset. So he taught me that through physical activity to all the different aspects of playing American football. He would teach me about always being my best with all the different disciplines that I needed to learn to become a very good athlete. But once that happened, I had an opportunity also to take Aikido when I was 15. And I was very blessed to take my first 2 weeks of Aikido with Koichi Toihei, who was the #1 disciple of Professor Ueshiba, the founder of Aikido. And this was in Hawaii. So I had tremendous blessings and opportunities. And we have three things in life that we're going to do. Basically, three things for everyone. We're going to make choices. The choices are going to have outcomes, results, and consequences. If we are wise enough to accept responsibility for every choice we make, every choice, that's number one. Number two, when we have a choice, we're going to have an experience. The experience is the result of the choice, and what we can do from that is from the experiences we have, it's a tap on our shoulder to say to you, ask you this important question: who am I? This question is the most important. Now, there's 7 questions that I go through my life to make sure that I have a very strong, solid foundation of understanding who I am. Socrates say, know thyself. Very simple phrase, know thyself. What we're all trying to do in our life is know who we are. That's our primary concern. Without understanding about how we think, this is what we're trying to. We're trying to find out who we are and make our way, carve our path through life. But unless you truly understand and you have a solid foundation of understanding of your connectedness with everything that exists in the universe, not just the planet we're on, that we are the same as everything. If you put your hand out like this, you won't feel anything. It's just air. But if you stop breathing for 4 minutes, you'll appreciate the value of this empty space. This energy that you're taking is the energy of the universe. It is the creative force that we are blessed to have. So we must really have an understanding, answer those basic questions about who you are. So this is very important. The third thing I was mentioning, we have choices, we have experiences, and from those we have relationships. So the thing that makes us unique as human beings is the relationships that we forge. And those are very important because, again, in those relationships that we have, it's going to tap us on our shoulder and say, who am I in relationship to the person that I'm dealing with in my life? And you're going to come across a lot of different people. And some you're going to gravitate to, and some are going to repel you. This is simply energy. Everything in the universe is energy. If we start to accept this basic fact that everything is energy, everything, there is nothing, even non existence, vibrates at a particular frequency of energy. So take a guy like Tesla. About 35, 40 years ago, I read a quote that he said, and this started me on this path of thinking. Now, I was not a good student. Obviously, when my mother died, I made that left turn, like I said, and I didn't make right decisions. I barely made it through high school, actually. I never went to college, but I became from a jock, from an athlete. And at that time when I was growing up, you were either a jock or a nerd. You couldn't be both. It was not acceptable for you to be intelligent and be an athlete. Athletes were considered stupid. So, being that I gravitated to my physical expression, I became a better athlete and I became dumber according to other people. And I believed that for many years of my life, until about 42, actually, when I moved to the Philippines and decided to change everything in my life. But I read a quote by Nikola Tesla, and he said something very interesting to me. He said, if you want to find the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, because that's all anything is. That's all it is. So he said, wait a minute, if I wanted to find the secrets to the universe, but I said, no, I don't want to go that far. I just want to find the secrets to my miserable life. I want to find out who I am. Who am I? How do I think? How do I feel? I wanted to find out that question. So he said, all I have to do is accept that everything vibrates at particular frequencies of energy. And that's the reality of our existence. Everything vibrates. Now, if you look around the room that you're in, every object that you're looking at, including the room that you're in, is vibrating at a particular frequency, a resonance of energy. That frequency at which an object vibrates actually is defining who that object or what that object is by its frequency. Now, if we look at each other, the people that you're going to interact with, that you're going to have relationships with, every individual is vibrating at a particular frequency of energy. The frequency at which a person vibrates in the moment they exist, which is this moment called now. So, right now, regardless of my age, regardless of all my experiences, right now, in this moment that I exist, I must understand something. This is the only time and place I can actually die. I cannot die at any other moment I exist but the one I am in now. So if you think about life that way, you must realize that this moment must be the most precious time that you have because this is where you can leave.
Well, this
So
is
this, I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, this is this is really really powerful. And I know as we study the martial arts, then a lot of these things we don't know what's happening to us, on the physical side, and many times on the mental side because we're going through a motion, and many times that's not understood. But the more that we mature in our actions, we begin to realize that, and then we have, really an effect. So, how much do you, as you look back over time, and when you've been studying 50 and 60 years in the martial arts, it's like, you have this power, if you think of Star Wars. And so we all have this power, but in many cases we don't understand it. But the power of the martial arts and the way that you're bringing together, because right now, the audience and, myself can even feel that level of intensity of the information you want to get out. And we're going to talk about your books in a few moments. But the martial arts journey, and because that is a big power of self-discovery. How do you feel that your journey has helped you at this point to discover yourself?
Well, I think the most important thing, there's so many things that are valuable, that are important, and we have to set these important things according to priorities. So we have, of all the things that we become aware of, we learn, we have experiences, we have relationships, we learn from them. So now you have to reevaluate in the moment you exist. You have to start to reevaluate the way you're living. And again, you have to make new choices, new decisions, have new experiences and new relationships. So you have to decide for yourself, what is the foundational base at which I can work from, and then I can change and adapt as I move when I have to improvise and I have to make other choices and other decisions. But for the most part, discipline is by far, for me, this is just my personal observation of my own life. Discipline is the number one key. When you talk about martial arts, you have all these wonderful values, virtues, and principles. You have courage, compassion, you have honor, integrity, respect. All of these things are valuable. But without having a strong foundation of discipline as the basic foundation of your understanding, then you're going to be going off the tracks all the time. The discipline is what keeps you centered. So I think this is for me number one. When discipline left the family structure in America, specifically, the country fell apart. The issues America is having, the issues the world is having, is based on one thing: we lacked the personal discipline. Now, discipline was supposed to be a parent's obligation and responsibility, but they felt at some time it was so difficult raising two or three kids. They're only 27, 28 years old. The kids are 2, 3, and 5. I mean, can you imagine the pressure on a mother trying to raise these kids? Impossible. So the idea was to raise them with love. Now, I want to believe my mother started off with this intent to teach me about life through love. But maybe because of my attitude, my behavior, and everything else, it was virtually impossible. I was jumping over everything, breaking things, disrupting everything. I want this, me. That at some point they had to change their method of educating. Discipline was the primary way to do this, and love was the way to execute it. But because of the way everything was in the family, they decided, I'll teach the way I was taught. And we are taught through fear. Fear is the number one educational tool that people resorted to. Fear. This has been so ingrained in a mind that's two, just born, 3 years old, 4 years old. If you learn about fear from the people that love you, then you're going to have a fearful experience of life. I have now had people come to me from all over the world to this little island, and they still have fears at 60, 70 years old that they've never lost. Because at that critical juncture and time in their life of developing a brain, a thought, what they learned was how to be afraid. Now, again, I want you to understand something that's important. I'm not putting down anybody's parents or anything. It was the most convenient way to educate. Why? Because they listened when they were afraid. Why? Because you taught them to be afraid about what? Everything. Get down from that tree. You want to break your neck? Don't go near the water. You want to drown? Don't touch that electric cord. You want to get electrocuted? Don't do this. Don't do that. Be careful. Watch out. Wow. Is it any wonder? Is it any wonder that what we have learned, even through COVID, the tremendous opportunity we had through COVID to learn, what did we do? We got experience, the greatest expression of fear. But how we reacted to that was how we were taught to react: compliance and obedience. That's what we did. We are still living in fear. We have no discipline. We have to get back to the basic roots. And it's not a martial arts thing. I want you to appreciate this. These values and ethics and principles and virtues are not restricted to the martial arts community.
Right.
Every human being that's breathing, you have the same rights and opportunities to express yourself with these values, these virtues, these principles. So, but discipline, you must start with this. If you don't, I'm going to be not trying to be funny, but I get up, when I get up, before I put my feet on the floor, trust me, I am totally conscious, aware, excited, and alive before my feet touches the ground. So for me to do this, I need to prepare for my day. So I start my day at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I get up, and for the next 2 or 3 hours, I am preparing myself mentally, physically. Yes, I do all my stretching, my breathing exercise. I do all this in the 2 hours before my feet touch the ground. By the time it does, I am flying. I am mentally aware, awake, alert, alive.
Mm.
It starts
Wow.
in bed, preparing
Right.
to
Right.
do. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and that's the reason, that in the that experience, as some we have these phases in life that we go through. We do this and this, and so now in this new season, we're trying to share through our books. And I know you got a couple of books that's coming out. So let's talk a little bit about your books, because your books, your writing really includes this. And everyone, we're visiting tonight with Grandmaster Mike Stone, legendary, martial artist. What makes him a legend? Well, number one, he's done things that no one else was doing at that particular time. The foundation of martial arts and sport karate, all those things. He was one of those key people that helped to build the foundation. And so tonight we're chatting with him, about where he is now, the things he's working on, a message that he's leaving with us of thinking from a different level. So we don't have to talk kick and punch to improve ourselves, because this message is for anyone that's looking to improve themselves, their lives, and their surroundings. And like I said, he's an author. So we want to get into a little bit about what he's got coming up. He's got several books that he has out, and I guess let's take and I know one that you had come out last year, and that was your life and journey. Uh, with the Presleys. So I know that book is out and it's available on Amazon. So let's start there. And I know you got some great work that's coming up.
Yeah, that was a book I wanted to write because of things I was hearing about Priscilla, Elvis, Lisa Marie. So I just wanted to set the record straight because I was blessed to have 4.5 years with them, and during that time, everybody was innocent and naive, pretty much, including myself. So there was a lot of things that we went through, and I was blessed to have spent that time with them. And I was saddened by what I've seen happen after Lisa was 9.5 years old, because that's when her life changed completely because of the death of her father. But notwithstanding that, there's just so many things that we have to be thankful and grateful for. And gratitude is by far one of the things. The other book I just finished was actually a martial arts type of book. I wrote about the 9 levels of power. Now, these are 9 particular chapters in the book that I've written about, and each chapter is pretty much an emotional idea. Our feelings come from our emotions. Our actions, our decisions, our choices come from our feelings. So I wanted to make a connection there that each chapter of the book, and we have a chapter on universal energy. We have a chapter on problems, because that's all we are dealing with for most of us in our life. There's a chapter on love. There's a chapter on the power of words. There's a chapter on our humanity. So respect, telling the truth. These things are so, so important. You have to first start off by telling the truth. So the book is pretty much about all these different levels of understanding that I went through. And over the past 35, 40 years, I started to put them together, creating what I call a warrior lifestyle. That the way I choose to live my life, I know is very unique and different, not because I am unique and different or special. Not at all. Not at all. I have not done anything no one else could not have done. Everybody can do what I did. Everybody. I am not special or unique in that way. What I wanted to do was create a lifestyle that was conducive to my philosophy and way of thinking. Now, the way I think and feel now, I could not live in society. I could not live in the broads. I cannot, I have difficulty being among a lot of people. The reason I chose to live on this little island for the last 40 years was because I realized that when two or more are gathered in my name, there is trouble. There is trouble. So the least that I am connected to people in my daily life, where I can focus on the things that I value. Now, in a sense, I am admitting I am selfish. Yes, I am. I am the most important person in my life. Without me, nothing happens. Am I selfish? Yes, thinking that way. But let's extend this idea. As selfish as I may be in thinking about myself, I realize that if I cannot be the best version of myself for me, if I cannot honor, love, respect, and tell the truth to me, what value do I have to anyone else in my life? What is the sense of going out in public when I'm going to be like everybody else? The reason the world is in its condition is because of this limited thinking, negative understanding. That is the problem in society. And it hasn't gotten better. And I am, like you mentioned, I was one of the founders, one of the beginners of martial arts. I am embarrassed by the legacy I left behind. I'm not proud of it. because people looked and followed me because I was a great fighter. It was not about fighting, it was about loving. So apparently, I didn't do a good job in sharing what I really benefit and learn. And that's what life is. It's about love. It's not about violence. It's not about anger. It's not about fear. It's none of these things. But where can you go out today and bump into a bunch of people just walking out of, maybe in your own home? Maybe in your own home are the limitations that won't allow you to be free. Never mind stepping out the door. So start with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Tell the truth. There's no such thing as brutally honest. Tell the truth, not for them, for you. Be honest with yourself. Honor, respect, and love yourself enough that you will tell the truth. And that's what this book is about, 9 Levels of Power.
And I know you have another book that you're actually working on about your relationship or the time that you spent with Bruce Lee.
Yes, yeah. That's I believe it's an interesting story because Bruce Lee and I met the same day I became a black belt and won the International Karate Championships in Long Beach, California. Bruce did a demonstration there that was very powerful. And that night, since I won the event, Ed Parker, Jun Ree, and myself and Bruce went to Chinese dinner to celebrate. But that evening, Ed Parker and Jun Ree were off to the side talking about their things, and Bruce Lee and I hit it off fantastically because not about the physical aspects, but are about our mental mindset. I had already established, as I told you, when I was 15, a particular mindset from my coach: always be my best. So this idea has been my motivational thing throughout my life. Now, don't, when I came to be doing well in martial arts, people don't realize I had a preface to that. When I was 15, this mindset that I was introduced to allowed me in my senior year to play only 8 games of football. But from being nothing, not a good athlete, I became an all star in 8 games. But not only an all star, they started a thing called a decade all star. So they put me on the list from 1951 to 61. They said I was one of the best ends in the state of Hawaii, and I did it in 8 games. And I got credit for 9 years that I never played. Go figure. So now, if I can do that there, what's the problem with me starting karate and believing my very first day that I'm not going to become a black belt in 5 years, which is what my instructor told me I was going to be required to do? I did it in 6 months from the day I took my first lesson. Why? Because I instilled this mindset. When I went for my first class, I already believed. I wasn't thinking, hoping, praying someday. I wasn't thinking that if I work hard, suffer, and sacrifice. None of those ideas I entertained. None of the ideas I was programmed to believe at birth. This is how you live life. Work hard, suffer, sacrifice. That's what, no, that's nonsense. For me, it's nonsense. Who wants to live like that? Look around you right now. Look at society. Everybody is living with suffering and sacrificing. And what happened? They're not going to change their life. Continue to suffer and sacrifice. Is that what you believe you need to do to be the best version of yourself? There is another way.
Well, and that, I think you hit it on the head. Is what's on the inside will now come out. So when you now have a principle, of what I call a principle of what you do, and that's sort of that's what I try to live by, is a principle, the same concept. Why not be the best? If I've got to do something, study, whatever it takes, if I'm going to engage, then I want to be finding the other level. And that's the reason why in teaching and writing and the messages that we get a chance to leave, as we begin to write our memoirs, as we begin to write our books, we begin to write. when that's just another way that I look at of getting things out. I've written now close to 50 books, but there are really 50 things that I did. There are 50 things that I was working on that I wasn't good at, but I began to study. And that study of those 50 things, and I probably didn't even realize it in the beginning, but we talk about what's happening in front of you. Sometimes we build bridges that we don't know that we're going to need to cross over. And being able to take this information, as an author, and I see that you're doing that, you're in your books and your writing, you've had, you're having this great life, but you're also, you're building this marker. You have a place that people can go back and they can look at Mike Stone, and they can, whether they look at a movie or they now where you are now, because as you said, where you are now is different than where you were back then, because you're at that, what I call that knowledge place. And sometimes we receive knowledge and I don't know where it comes from. In fact, I wrote a book, Professor Gary Lee and several other people have said to me one week, Jesse, you have great vision. Jesse, you have great vision. Jesse, you have great vision. I woke up one morning and I stood up and my spiritual voice spoke to me that God says, God gives you vision. So I wrote the book, God Gives Me Vision, procrastination. And so when we have these insights that we see, and because, and I have no idea where I would actually be in life if it had not been for a good teacher in the martial arts and having the opportunity to have these experience of victories. I have a corner full of trophies and awards. So I know every day, no matter how I feel, I can look towards that corner and I know that I've had my victories, which reinforces wherever I am today and what I'm doing. And I think this is key for individuals. And again, this is reason why, for a lot of the things I do, especially in publishing, it's really about, it's not necessarily about the story in our biography books. It's really about giving people the opportunity to stop, write, and evaluate their lives. And then they can determine whether or not they're wasting a perfectly good life. Because when you sit down to write and you can only fill a half a sheet of paper, but you're now 50 years old, then you have to say, well, what did I do for 50 years? And is it too late for me to start to evaluate myself? And I say no, because you can change, just with the thought of changing. You can change, use your phrase, you can change now, so you can actually be able to do that. So I guess, we're sort of, I'm really working with some people on getting comfortable with going on the inside and discovering themselves. This project that we're going to be working on, which we're telling about the secrets to life. And
Yes.
again, if someone can tell me the bridge is out, and I want to be obedient and go, how far? No, I don't even want to say that. I want to just stop my car there. If anybody wants to go past, then that's fine. But that's sort of what we're trying to do, is really to share. And, having you as our guest tonight, I had this amazing opportunity at the Battle of Atlanta for us to, talk probably about a half a day and actually go to your seminar. And I left your seminar and I was sort of lost in the beginning, but by the time I thought about it and got back to my table, it all made sense. So I've been, since we left the Battle of Atlanta, I've been applying the principles that you shared, with me, in my own life, which has, definitely made in the past, 6 months a difference on my manifesting power, what I'm thinking, and the outcome that I'm looking for. And that's why, I definitely would recommend anyone that's looking for empowerment to, definitely get your books, start that learning process, or attend your seminars, because this is what you're as one of our senior martial artists, you're bringing something out that we really need to that we need to think about, and then you're recording this as a part of your messages in your book. So again, I'm totally grateful for that.
Thank you.
So, any last things that you would like to discuss? Anything that we should do, or any special thing that you want to bring out? So, this is your time.
Well, we have another book that we're doing simultaneously with these others, and that is it's called the curriculum. And what the curriculum is we're taking the 9 levels of power, all the information in that particular book, and we're organizing it into a curriculum, a way of teaching martial arts that will be, I think, a little different from the way it has been done in the past. So we're going to start reaching out to all the different martial arts organizations globally to share this curriculum idea. And basically, what it is um, we'll take, say, 25 words, and these 25 words will be the core foundation of ethics for a way of living a warrior lifestyle. Now, a warrior lifestyle is not, I know it sounds far out, but it's not. It's really, it's simplifying your life. It's not making it more complicated. It's actually, a warrior lifestyle is really the simplest way you can possibly choose to live and still maintain your integrity, your personal power. But what we want to do is we'll take 25 words, and these words will be the core foundation and the ethics and the principles and the values. And we will teach these words in the instruction of martial arts. And we want to start not only in martial arts schools, but we want to do it in schools as well, for anybody, for the general public. And if we can start again, if we can go back to our childhood, which we can't, but now there are kids that are being born, that are coming along, what are we going to leave for them? So I believe creating this curriculum that we can start to teach anyone from a very young age and take out the fear aspect, not teach them fear, teach them these 25 words. Now, these words are primarily feelings and emotions, concepts, ideas, but these words can be expressed through the physical body. So the way we've learned karate is through repetition. And this is one of the things that I talk about in Bruce's book as well, is that one of Bruce's pet peeve about the martial arts when he first entered the thing in America was that he felt everybody was too robotic, too programmed, too stiff, too programmed. Everything was through repetition. And of course, we have come to believe that repetition is one of the best ways to learn. Yes, it depends on the information you're repeating, or it depends on the technique that you're repeating. So the idea about a curriculum is to get these 25 words that will be the foundation of your life, and teach these words in a physical way, a physical expression, that now you can perform this. You can perform love. You can perform respect. You can perform discipline. You can perform compassion. You can perform courage. You can perform this. You will learn this as the foundation of your martial arts training. And now this is what you learn, not how to kick and punch. You may use physical expressions that way, but that's not what you're doing. Imagine if you had the power to put energy into every punch, if you were in the moment, if you were being the best version of yourself in the moment you are expressing it, which is now. You cannot be better. I never tried to be better than my opponent. I never even knew half the people I fought. It didn't matter who they were. I was focused on being my best for me in the moment I was doing that. And I found by doing that, I won 91 consecutive times. I do not have a second place trophy, no second, no third, no fourth, no fifth. I only have championship trophies and grand champion. I do not have anything less. Now, am I special? No. I just focused on who I am in the moment. I didn't have to. Why would I want to create an enemy or an opponent? He's not in opposition to me. He is actually there to serve me. What? He's allowing me to do my best against him. That's the gift that I have. Every opponent I had was a blessing. It was not an opportunity to defeat anybody, to embarrass, to ridicule anyone. It was an opportunity for me to be my best.
Wow, that's great. And I think that way also is that it is the opportunity to really to test myself. What did I learn? I had the great opportunity of training with Joe Lewis. When I was a brown belt, and I learned so much from him. About the fighting concepts, and I've had so many people to share that information, and that's what information is power. And that's why I was telling one of the young men today that I mentor is that that information is power, learning is power, and to continue to be able to learn, because as we go through age in our seasons, there's new informations. We change, our thinking changes, and all the things, and our spirituality change, what we think, what we used to think, what do we think now, and how to be able to use that. So I think from the perspective of our knowledge and the capability to leave that information for those who follow, through the books, through the recordings, through the different things that we continue to move forward, and the people that adapt these different training concepts and programs, this is a guiding light, and this is what our senior masters that we're scheduled to do. And when we accept that responsibility, as leaders and as mentors, we want to see the world become better, the people around us become better, and if we have learned something that can help them to not shortcut, but for them to have a better understanding when they now approach these things. And that's the reason why, having the becoming writing and having books and all these things are so important. And everyone, we have a special project that's going to be starting. We're starting the fourth book of the Elite Martial Artist book. And this next book that's coming up is called From White Belt to Wisdom. And so in there, we're looking for, authors or someone that has a story on the secrets of life. What have you learned? What are the things you have? Do you run a business? How can you help me to be a better business person through your experience? In relationships, how, what is it that you have that's in there that can help me be better? And that's what these books have turned into. They've actually turned into philosophy books where martial artists can actually share that. The minimum requirement is you have to be at least a 4th degree black belt in there. We have a very short timeline that we're going to leave this open. We have what I call my anchor authors, Grandmaster Cynthia Rothrock, and of course, Grandmaster Stone, Grandmaster Eric Lee, Sifu, several other senior martial arts, Art Camacho, that are actually people that in the martial arts community, we know them, we see them, we have a chance to see what they've done and the information that they have. And so what we're doing is to try to come up with tools that we can gather information that can move on in time. And they're there. So when people are looking for this information, yes, you will need it. Everyone will, at some point in your life, you will begin to understand what the information we're trying to actually share with you. But you can do that, now. So what's your website, sir? What's the your website?
Mike Stone martial arts.com.
Okay, great. And I know, and what I'll do is to put out in our post and everything the links to Amazon, the links to the books and material that you have that's available. And everyone, again, I had the blessed opportunity to spend a half a day with Grandmaster Stone at the Battle of Atlanta. And it was such a memorable experience because I've read about him through the magazine, but having a chance to attend this seminar, have the chance to actually chat, open myself up to learning and ingesting information and being able to process. So that was and is a great experience. So, sir, I want to thank you for being a part of our podcast. And again, we're going to get your information out there. I look forward to continuing to build our relationship through the things that we're doing. And if you ever need me, you have my telephone number. I know we're 12 hours difference in time.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so but again, thank you. I appreciate you. And everyone, be blessed. Don't forget, if you're thinking about writing a book, or if you're thinking about, you got a story, we've just launched our story books for kids. They're not just for kids, but they're for anyone to be able to get your message out through storybooks. And we also have launched our coloring books too. So remember, if you have a question about publishing, remember, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to, just give you free information, save you some shortcuts, save you some time, energy, and money. Everyone, be blessed.